In a world in crisis, can three idiots find hope in the darkest of places? Will love conquer all, or will hate win out in the end? This is a show called Hate.
Well, hello and welcome to a show called Hate, a podcast in which we explore love, hate, and everything in between in search of greater meaning and perhaps a little perspective. I'm John.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Chris.
The ghost of Christmas yet to come.
I'm not dead, I'm just very sick.
Oh, that's it, sorry.
Hello, everyone.
Chris isn't here,
Chris isn't here.
which means for a better episode all round.
And altogether, richer, meatier
Yes.
audio broth, basically.
And philosophical debate
Yes.
of a higher caliber and tier than you're used to, dear listener. And we won't disrespect you as much, probably.
No, and we won't insult your intelligence by pretending that he's sorry. He's ill. He's ill, bless him.
Yeah.
We were going to do our regular episode last time round.
I'm sure you're all very upset
Yes.
that we missed last time.
He was a bit ill, and then we rescheduled. I mean, you and I were very tired.
Yeah.
And we, like...
And then we were like,
didn't-
I'm sure they'll understand.
And we were like, our awful fans don't deserve anything. Let them suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
we got a lot of messages from you.
Mm.
Oh, no, wait, sorry. Where it says a lot there on the autocue, I actually meant 0. I mistyped.
yeah, and then we were like, oh, well, let's be good. Let's get back on it.
Yep. And then we were all set up for this week to be our usual recording time.
And
The
Chris,
awful Christopher Ray.
yeah, well, and you know, the real blame
The real blame
lies
lies on...
his beloved child.
Oh, and also Chris Ray.
Yeah, and also Chris Ray.
Yes.
So,
yes, his beloved child.
Chris Ray's incredible, wonderful son, for whom he would do anything, for
Yes.
whom he'd
Move heaven and earth.
move heaven and earth, is a walking petri dish of pestilence. And,
As they seem to be at that age.
at that age. Yes, and as such, Chris Ray has a perpetual cold or sore throat, or at the moment.
Apparently he's coughing every 15 or so seconds.
Yes, which would probably make marginally better audio than
Yeah, because
actually hearing
he
him
was
speak.
like, you don't want that on the podcast. That's going to ruin it. But I've got to say, my first thought was it's going to be markedly improved.
Yeah.
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 But for whatever reason that I still can't understand, he has decided to bow out of today's episode.
Indeed, yeah.
So here
I
we
mean, you know, a lack of commitment, maybe.
Really? It probably
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Or, yeah. No, that. Let's go with that. Definitely. Yeah.
And you and I are still kind of functional.
Yeah, sort of borderline. I'd
Borderline,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some stuff going on at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
It's keeping us busy. We've cryptically hinted at it before.
Yeah, have we? I was going to ask if we talked about this on the podcast.
I think we've been coy about it. We'd kind of...
We can say
There's still some stuff we can't say.
there's still some stuff we can't say.
Yeah.
But we have a big graphic novel project.
Oh, wow. We're just going for it.
I'm going
Yeah,
to say this.
okay,
I'm going
that's
to say
true.
this.
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
It's important. I'm setting something up for what's coming, basically. But yes, we have a big graphic novel project which has been commissioned by a big publisher.
Yes, actual
Real publisher.
big boy trousers.
Get your head down and draw comics, you shit, kind of
Like,
project.
real big boy, get your head down, work you disgusting maggot.
You nothing beast.
Don't look at me. How
Yeah.
dare you touch my feet?
What
publishing.
are you doing in my house?
Which is great.
It's awesome.
And we're
yeah.
loving it.
We're
yeah.
over the moon. Yeah.
But it's kind of weird because like our lives have changed quite drastically, dramatically, if you will.
I will.
You will, and you can.
I
You
should.
may.
Thank you. sir.
In the last, well, God, not even a year, and certainly not even I mean, like,
No, this all began in October last year.
yeah, tail end of October.
And then by February, March of this year,
Yes,
we had a deal.
indeed. Yeah,
Deal. And now we have like a literary agent.
yeah. But well, oh god, it's all coming out now.
Yeah, well, I figured we can say the stuff we can say, and then we'll be coy about the stuff we can't. But I figured like Chris Ray isn't here to
to put us down for once.
A, well, A, that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
B, like we're not pulling spotlight off of his like boring stuff that he's got nothing on. In his life, So
yeah.
so without him to pull
Yeah.
spotlight, we can just lavish in our own achievements and also workload.
So, it's been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. We weren't looking for it.
We weren't.
It just kind of arrived.
Came a knocking.
Opportunity knocked.
Yes.
And we answered.
And I was in the shower.
We answered naked.
I was naked with a towel on my head.
Yeah, a shotgun through a crack in the door.
Yep. And then they sent another person.
Yeah. So it was kind of like we were stumbling through a situation where I think Gog's Perfect Idiots, this opportunity, which we weren't expecting, arrived at the perfect time in our lives because we had no expectations at all.
The bar was very low.
I think if we had been younger,
yes, stupider,
hungrier,
yes,
yeah,
good.
hungrier for that carrot,
We were very hungry.
yeah, but we were jaded.
We're jaded now.
Yeah, but my point, we've seen enough of life
We have
to know
and had.
that good things don't happen
Not to people like us.
to
not
anyone
to
ever.
idiots like
No,
us,
no.
and not to anyone ever.
And so, which I think in a weird way was like a bizarre benefit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I don't know whether it's that the universe gives you it when you give up, or whether it's that your jaded, cynical outlook allows you to see through the bullshit and then see the opportunities that are real. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, we may have been like utterly sober. We weren't
That sounds
dazzled.
likely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using the royal we. But yeah, like, which is what I mean about like being like Gog's Perfect Idiots, because this opportunity came around with real, grown up publishers.
Yeah.
And they were like, we should have a chat. We should talk about X. And we're like, okay.
Wee! And let me get my flower pot for my head.
So we weren't worrying enough to kind of screw it up in a weird way.
Oh, I see your point. Yes, I
Yeah.
think that's valid, because I think if this had come when I was really hungry,
Yeah.
because with a little bit of context, basically, John and I have been making comics for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And when we started out, this was what we thought the career path was.
Yeah.
And this was the only path, right? So you make a few things indie, not expecting really any results, any profit. You do it to create a name for yourself and to put your face out there.
Yeah.
And then you pursue publishers with a proposal or pitch version of the thing you want to make.
Yeah.
And they go, yes, you're a fucking genius at the age of 22. We're going to sign you right now for a 28 graphic novel series.
Yeah.
Plus movie deal, plus merchandise
Yeah.
tie-in.
Yeah.
That was what we thought the road was.
Make your millions by 25.
And if not, you're a failure.
Lose it all by 26.
Yeah, on your gambling addiction.
Claw your way back to mediocrity
Yeah, and
by
relevance.
28 and then coast. Yeah.
Death could follow shortly
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that in the first year, 2 years, 3 years,
No,
5 years,
no.
10 years even. And within that period of failure, as I like to call it,
Prolonged failure.
we decided to build a self-published career, I
Yep.
guess you could say, in the face of a increasing cynical and hatred of
Yeah.
of publishing as a whole.
Yeah.
Honestly, believing that it wasn't really for us and that we were never going to be picked up by it. That was really, truly how I felt.
No, and I think, and the older we got and the more we understood about how comic publishing
Certainly
works,
comic publishing.
we became very disenfranchised. We kind of just realized that like the cost of success in the comic industry is quite high in
Yeah.
a weird way, and we'd have to potentially lose so many interesting bits of ourselves to succeed.
And that would only be to have a chance at succeeding. As
Yeah,
well.
that's true. And
Because
and,
the fairy godmother's wand was the ever present thing. Like,
Yeah.
you just get picked seemingly at random.
and then we had stories from people coming
Yeah,
the other
the
first
side.
kind stories of people coming the other way, like people who'd effectively achieved the dream in comics publishing, had succeeded,
Yeah.
and were coming back with horror stories about
Yeah.
how kind of awful it was. And
it seemed like a blasted wasteland of an industry.
yeah,
From nearly all perspectives, like the creation of it, the selling of it, the retail of it, and the publishing of it. Like every sort of aspect had huge fundamental, like, broken parts to it, which would lead to, not only a lack of people being able to make it through to that successful goal, but also, like, even in achieving that success, it would be a hollow one because there would be costs and potential bankruptcy and potential falling from grace because because you can't keep yourself in place, and so then all the publishers think that you're a dirty word in comics, and then you're gone. And it's brutal, it's unfair, and it's broken.
it is, and there are so many people, particularly young people, willing to throw themselves at it. Because of this kind of like hand of fate, this almost lottery vibe of thinking like, well, it could be me, it could be me. And I say, and we say this not to criticize anyone who wants this or dreams of this, because we were there, we wanted it.
Yeah, we wanted it more than anything, particularly before we knew what it was and what it would cost. Yes, we wanted it, but it's
and so we'd I don't know, like made peace with where we were
completely.
We'd
started to see the successes that we'd kind of dreamed of, but accessed from a different angle.
Yes,
because we were like, well, one of the things that was very important to me was to be self-sufficient of my artwork.
Yes.
One of the things that was important to me was to be making a living, off the artwork specifically as well. And it's like I achieved those things a couple of years ago, as we did talk about on this podcast, through self-publishing.
Entirely.
And so in many sort of ways, I was like, well, we've kind of got maybe what we would have wanted off of a published career in comics and artwork and creation of our own stuff, but through our own power and at our own pace.
Yeah, and arguably doing it on your own, because like you often hear about, particularly in the comics world, you often hear about supposedly like indie publishers popping up, or kind of frankly, it seems that anything that isn't Marvel, DC, maybe Image is considered indie in a weird way,
which is weird.
So you'll get these companies pop up and you'll be like, oh, it's like this young scrappy underdog, this indie publisher, it's like that employs 20 people and it's like and it really was just us, like, really just like four of us.
Yeah.
Us two, Lucy and Ali. And like, we didn't have this massive staff.
And Lucy and Ali still had full-time, well, for the longest time we did as well, of course, but full-time day jobs.
Well,
and they still do.
And we made the stuff we just wanted to. So, the comics, the games, obviously, the card games, and you with Colossal. And admittedly, if you'd done it with a big publisher, maybe you would have sold 10 times as much, 100 times as much, 1,000 times as much. Who knows?
Who knows?
But you'd obviously control a smaller percentage of that.
Yeah.
But we had a small, modest portion of the world that was ours.
Yeah.
And
our little empire.
Everything we sold, 100% of it was ours.
Yeah.
So and we were, doing all right. You know,
we were
not kind of conquering the world.
No.
But conquering our world, so to speak. We were quite, and that worked. And
making a little name for ourselves as we went along, which was cool. Yeah,
and again, we felt very proud of the work we did, and we never really compromised on quality.
No,
and I guess to some extent, opinions be damned. We just did what we did for ourselves
and made it how we wanted to make it. Yeah.
So
and after a little while of that, like I said, we were both, you and I were able to go sort of quit our day jobs and go full time and make a going of this and give ourselves more time to make the things that we wanted to make.
Yeah.
Fully expecting that this was the plan. Like the self-publishing, we'd grown it to a point where we could do this. We intended to keep that going, and if not, grow it within that scope. That was what it was going to be.
Oh, 100%. And there's always risk associated with this kind of thing. When I quit my day job, I had some really cool kind of freelance writing gigs lined up.
Yep.
The video game I worked on, which I think is actually coming out this year, which would be fantastic.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be wonderful. Some other cool stuff. And I was like, okay, well, there's a risk. There's always a risk involved, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
And I'd rather take that chance now, slightly later in life, because we'd both had the traditional, familiar, responsible day job for over a decade. We'd done the right thing, and then we were like, okay, well, now let's take the chance and go for it. And there's always a risk, but we did it, I guess, with no expectations. We weren't hoping for some kind of mythical, magical deal to come our way.
No, and that was kind of the beauty of it, right? Because I think a lot of people take the plunge of quitting a day job and then going full time.
Yeah,
and there's a clock ticking. Right?
Yes,
and it's like, if I don't get the big deal, if I don't get the big break inside this year, this 12-month period that I've given myself, then I'll have to go back.
Yeah.
And so they give themselves that, and they either do or they don't. And most of the time they don't, sadly, because putting a timer on that doesn't necessarily help anything.
No.
So much of it is luck.
It's so much pressure as well.
And then they run out of money, and they run out of what they were able to do, and they sack it off and they go back to the day job and they go, well, I gave it a shot, And it's like, we didn't do it for that reason. We didn't do it waiting for the break. We didn't do it waiting for the strike of lightning. We did it on the basis of, we can make it work now.
Yeah.
You had your freelance stuff. I had the sales of Colossal. Between us, we had still spare time to grow the other things we wanted to grow.
Oh, yeah, me quitting my day job coincided with the 10th anniversary of Afterlife Inc.
Yep.
So getting the big hardbacks out.
Exactly.
Got the Comic Writers Journal out. You're growing Colossal. We're still getting Big Punches games out and stuff.
Yeah, exactly,
Doing conventions. I mean, we just had an absolutely fantastic UK Games Expo.
Yeah.
For both of us. It was remarkable. So.
Yeah.
So we would have just kept doing this anyway, making the best of it.
And we had just given up. Not in a sort of defeatist way, but just in a it's not what's in the plan. It's not what's on the docket, And then they appeared.
Yeah, and then something. So we were at a convention in October last year in London. A convention we've done many times before, and. We had a chance encounter.
Yeah.
But pretty much like the literal dictionary definition of a chance encounter.
Really was, yeah.
Where
two people from this publisher were just wandering the halls.
And we didn't know who they were.
Nope.
And we just had a nice conversation because I think they jokingly, their opening line was, oh, there's not a lot of comics at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, right.
Something we've been griping about for 15 years.
Yeah.
But we just had a nice conversation and, I think our table looked really nice.
I think so. It was one of our best.
But, a big deal, I think, was the fact that this is the blind luck element of it, is that of all our titles, we were there for that particular show, with Afterlife Inc., Sandwich Masters, and Catamaran.
Yeah.
And the irony is you could have been there with 7-string.
Yeah, because we've been operating recently on this model where, because I have 7-string and Catamaran, I alternate.
Yes.
So typically half the table's Afterlife Inc., and then the other half is whatever I deign to bring that weekend.
Yeah. Whatever random whim.
Whatever bullshit I'm going to take to the table, And this week's bullshit happened to be my stupid comic about a cat and a meringue.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is very colourful and very kid-friendly.
And this is very... And for context...
That's what's important here.
The field we have moved into is kids' graphic novels.
Yes, very specifically kids. Yeah.
And again, the blind, life-changing luck here.
I know.
If you hadn't had such a kid-friendly banner and comic at our stand, this conversation might not have happened.
I know. Wild.
Yeah.
Because... There's a good chance that it could have still gone our way because we had a good looking table and we had comics in a non-existent, no comics area kind of thing. But still, it was perfect. The stars really aligned because they were looking for talent to create children's graphic novel projects, and we happened to have something that not only looked like one but also was one.
Yes, and this is the angle here is that it's coming from the more traditional world of publishing.
Indeed. A book publisher.
So book publisher. I won't bore you. We won't bore the listener with the minutiae of the differences between the comic publishing industry and the book publishing industry.
Safe to say there is just a difference.
They are completely different, and they move in mysterious ways.
And one is considerably more professional and mature than the other. Yes. I'll leave you to guess which one that might be.
Yeah. But, needless to say, we're talking a real historic publisher.
It's funny, we keep saying real publisher, and we say it in when we tell other people about this and when we talk about it ourselves as well, we use the words real publisher. And we say that very deliberately. Like, there is a lot of fucking play acting out there. There was a lot of people playing at business, there was a lot of people playing at publishing, and there are a handful, really, of real publishers in the world that do what you'd expect from a publisher.
Yes. So if you were to imagine like a kind of whatever stereotype you have in your head of a publisher,
yes,
it's probably closer to that.
Yes.
Because bearing in mind, coming from the world of comics, we've also brushed up against games publishers, and they're better.
They're better.
Better than the comics world.
Yes, 100%.
But to
it's
go
not hard, though.
You know, for example, like a very common thing in the world of comics publishing would be to, I've been published.
Woo.
And you might go, great, how much money are you making?
Yeah.
And well, I'm not actually making like money.
Not
so
actually
to speak.
really taking home any money.
Oh, but the publisher's like printing your book for you.
No, they're not really printing it per se.
Like,
I've sort of got to do that.
Like I have to run a Kickstarter, but when I've done it, they get the stock.
Yeah. Oh, so
Yeah.
are they marketing your book then? Are they using their channels? Not really. They've kind of asked me to use both Kickstarter and my social media channels.
Yeah, to
and
kinda...
they've also kind of said that if I don't successfully market the book to a level that allows them to make the profit they want, then they will cancel it and charge me to pulp it. So money, no.
No.
That's it.
Yeah, and you know, we have, I think we alluded to this earlier, we have first-hand reports from people who have worked for a pretty major publisher, comics publisher, where it's
one of the biggest.
It's not even a case like, did you make any money? It's borderline, did it lose you money?
Yeah, did you lose your house?
Yeah, like
because it was close to that.
Yeah, like as in like no upfront payment, no royalties afterwards.
No.
And almost the company's charging you for the effort they put in to not sell your book. So it's like, oh, great.
And the idea of there's quite a central idea at the core of publishing, which is the idea of an advance, which for those that don't know is a upfront payment that publishers pay you, which is an advance of the royalties you will subsequently get.
So it's not like free money.
No.
It starts with royalties.
It does. And if you take an advance of, say, a year's worth of royalties, that means you won't start taking royalties until that year has passed. That's how it works. And the whole point of an advance is to help the creator of the work have some money to make the work for the publisher, obviously.
Yes, and
it's predicated on the idea that the publisher is successful enough to be able to front a sum of money like that. And that's not to say it's a dramatic large sum of money, but it has to be enough for a human being to live for, say, a year or two.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's funny,
typically,
and it's funny because I guess the other industry which was like this, although it's probably changing now, is like the film industry.
Yeah.
Where there's an element of, maybe you could call it gambling, but it's kind of speculative. Like someone comes to you with an idea, and then as a studio, this is certainly how it used to work, you'd go, okay, we're going to take a chance, and we're going to say give you, because you have a script, and maybe you're an upcoming director, we're going to give you like $30 million. Go make a film.
Yeah.
But the speculative element is that that's not free money. You are expecting the film to make $100 million. So that's an investment.
And we'll get the 30 back.
But sometimes it doesn't, and it flops, and you don't, it's a loss. So there's always a risk involved.
And that's the risk, right?
Yeah.
But a real publisher or a real film production studio acknowledges the risk and puts money in on that speculation. They put money in on the gamble.
Yeah.
That's where their power exists. Because not only then are they obviously a real business that's able to front money, which you'd expect from anything that commissions projects, right? But on top of that, they're invested from the perspective of backing you.
Yeah.
Because they have an investment to protect now, right? So of course they're going to market it. Of course they're going to promote it. Of course they're going to push it out to all the festivals or whatever. Because it's in their best interests for this thing to be a success.
Yes.
So they've met you halfway. You came to the table with the IP, and they came to the table with the money. You're both equally invested, and now you both have an equal drive to see this thing succeed.
Yes, it's mutually
beneficial.
Mutually beneficial, yeah. And
that's how you're dealing with a real publisher.
Yeah, and like, admittedly, like it's very hard to set up, a publishing company.
Certainly
like,
now.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason these, larger companies in the book publishing world can do this is that they have a long legacy.
Yep.
They have thousands of titles, and they have a lot of capital to kind of keep them moving. So they can afford to go, let's go looking for new cool stuff and new cool stuff. And obviously, it's taken, say, the book publishing world a little bit of time to realize that comics are
a thing,
kind of exciting and cool. And so it's been a little slow in that regard. But when they've kind of noticed what they bring to bear is
all of that power.
Is this incredible power, kind of like, more than anything, like a kind of logistical efficiency.
Yes.
To go, we can just make this a reality.
Yeah.
Like,
because we've been doing this for centuries.
Yeah.
We've been doing it with prose, but we can do it with a comic. Why can't we? It's just printed stuff on a page, like bound into a spine. Of course we can do it. Bam, here it is. We did it.
Exactly.
And it's on the shelves of Waterstones and W.H. Smith's.
And to go back to us, saying earlier how we'd gotten kind of disillusioned with publishing is because we've seen so many effectively like play acting publishers who would say, we'll publish your stuff, but like what are the two big things? Printing, distribution, marketing. And they can't deliver on anything.
None of them.
Yeah, it's like, you could have the best book in the world. Like literally, like there are people unpublished right now. There are people who are just writing something that will never be published, and it's the best book you've ever heard. You will never read.
You've never heard of.
Yeah, and it's like getting something made doesn't make you good. But that
was the whole thing they were capitalizing on, right?
Yeah.
Was this desperation for every creator, and it's true. It's in our hearts, deep inside us, to be recognized, right? And
Absolutely,
one incredible way of being recognized is to be published.
Yeah,
and these little publishers would kind of predate on that basis. They would be like, well, I can give all of these authors that aren't necessarily seeing a chance with real publishers. I can give them that feeling of being published. You'll slap our logo on their book, and they can say on their social media or to their friends, I've been published. And that means a lot to creators. But it means more than just the words. It means more than just the logo slapped on the book. They do have to do a job as well. And that was where it all fell down. They could get this huge roster of like books and IP and stories and stuff, but they weren't doing anything with them. And this was a tale as old as time. Like you said, new publishers struggle with this because, of course, they don't have the history and the legacy and the capital to be able to do what's required to be a publisher. But they thought they could just set up overnight and make it work using Kickstarter and the like. And really, they did nothing that the author or creator couldn't have done themselves. That was the problem.
No, particularly operating at that level.
Exactly.
Because it's like maybe you've got the best story in the world. Maybe it's a fine story. Maybe it's a bad story. But like, it's going to die on the vine. Yeah. If you... Even the best story in the world is just going to like fade into obscurity if you can't get the word out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the marketing comes in. So that's all I would ask of a publisher is, do you have the power to raise awareness?
Yes.
Get
me into hands. Get me eyes on it.
Yeah, because we used to say about conventions, all we ask if you're organising a convention is that you get people through the door.
Yeah.
Because if people walk past our table, look at our stuff and realise it's crap.
Yeah, that's on
That's on us.
Yeah.
That's entirely our fault.
And it's also up to us to make the table look as good as we can, to make the books look as good as we can.
Yeah.
And that's our part of this dark bargain, right?
Yeah.
We'll meet you halfway, but the other half has to be you getting the feet through the door, because otherwise it doesn't matter how good our stall looks.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, it's like you could have the best looking stall in an empty hall. It's not going to help you at all.
No.
So yeah, like
There's a very long-winded way of saying a real publisher came to our table.
Yeah, and it was the fact that and again, God's perfect idiots, we just talked to them.
Yeah.
Like it was literally, we didn't expect anything. We didn't really have any expectations that it would lead to anything, and I think we dared not hope. It was just
no.
They asked if we'd like to come up with some ideas.
We knew it was an opportunity, and we knew it wasn't something we should waste.
Yeah.
So we gave it our best shot when they asked us to pitch ideas to them.
Yeah, and I think that's something we can undeniably feel proud of, is that we just tried to come up with the best ideas we could.
Yeah.
We made each other laugh. It was
But I think
fun.
you're right about how we didn't, because we weren't like agonizing over it, because we weren't thinking, oh my God, this is our only chance, this is our only break. We had other stuff we knew we had to be getting on with once this pitch was done. So we gave it our best shot, but we also I think you're right. I don't think the work was affected by a desperation or a desire for it to be the be all and end all of our careers. You know what I mean? And it was like, if what I was kind of expecting was that we'd send the pitch out, we'd never hear from them again.
Yeah.
And we'd have just gone back to, you'd be working on Afterlife Inc., I'd be working on Colossal, we'd have just cracked on. And that's how it would have been. And so because of that, we didn't get caught up in our own heads.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, and you know, long story short, it's like we developed 4 ideas.
Yeah.
They really liked 2.
They did.
They wanted us to
Develop those two.
which we did. And then of the 2, they really liked 1.
They did.
And
At that point, we really liked that one.
And we
as well.
realised, after we developed those ideas further, produced more sample pages, we were like, there is very clearly, one is very clearly stronger.
There's a winner here.
Yeah, there's a winner. And suddenly we found ourselves, again, from this going, it's hard to describe. It's not that we weren't taking it seriously, because we always do a good job.
Yeah.
But it was suddenly like, oh, hang on a minute. Like, we're now on a roller coaster that we weren't expecting to hop on.
Things started to snowball really quickly.
Because suddenly there was a momentum to it. And obviously the people we've been talking to were excited. They'd spread it around the company. They were excited as well. Suddenly we're talking to an agent.
Yeah.
You know.
We're getting an agent.
Yeah.
The agent saying...
He was really cool.
He was really cool. The agent suddenly saying, like, oh, you've got loads of other stuff that you've been making for 15 years. We're actually quite interested in all of this stuff as well. We're like, what the fuck?
Not this podcast.
No, they really didn't care about this podcast. It's really weird. She didn't mention that at all.
Yeah, it's funny. Funny.
In fact, at one point she said, have you guys ever thought about doing podcasts? And we just did the whole, like, ooh, no.
I was like, opening the back end of the website, delete.
Yeah, the archive's gone.
Yeah. And then it was like a bit of a hurry up and wait.
Yeah,
you know, kind of like, okay, you guys have done your work. Now the adults are going to go talk it out.
Essentially pitch it to the bigger adults.
Well, yeah, and then this bizarre situation where we suddenly weren't involved.
Yeah.
Because the agency was talking to the publisher.
Yeah.
And their lawyers were talking to their lawyers, and they're all doing their thing. And we were saying at the time, it's like we spent a month kind of getting our affairs in order.
It's like we're gonna die.
And I was like, you're not. It's not a Viking funeral. Like you're still going to be around.
I bought a bow, John, of the finest horsehair and mahogany.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? It wasn't just that they wanted 1 book.
This was the wild thing.
They wanted 4.
And I still can't. I still think there's a bit of slip up.
There's been some admin error.
They moved the numbers around wrong, and there's a decimal point in the wrong place or something. Because it's like they don't know us from fucking shit.
Oh yeah,
right?
we're idiots.
Yeah, they found us yesterday at a stupid convention with no comics at it. You know, and then they're like, we'd like 4 books. What the fuck? That's amazing. Obviously, I'm over the moon about it. And yeah, we've got the whole next few years of our life kind of planned out by these 4 books that we've got to make.
Well, then that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's an incredible opportunity. We are immensely excited.
Yeah,
it's so much, and we're having a lot of fun working on it.
Oh yeah.
But I guess the kicker is that enthusiasm, with it comes this kind of urgency, if you will, where these things are going to market.
And this is the nature of working with a real publisher. Is that they have things like publishing schedules, and rights magazines and children's book fairs.
Yes, book fairs, pre-sales.
Got
to sell the thing.
International rights, trademarking, language translation. You know, all this shit. And it's like, oh, there's no wiggle room anymore. There's no I'm a bit tired. I'm going to release the book next month, not this month, where we used to have our own self-publishing schedules. And we'd be pretty tight to those.
Yeah.
But also if something came up, maybe it's something at our day job or at work, we'd probably push it. You know, I want to debut this book at a Comic-Con. I haven't quite got it all together. I guess I won't for this one.
Yeah.
You know, no, that's not really on the table anymore. It's got to get done. Yeah,
this is and it's not just that it's got to get done this week or this month. We are, no exaggeration, this is at least 2 years of work, 2.5 years arguably.
Yeah.
And kind of non-stop work.
The instant we finish the first book, it'll just roll straight into the second, and then the third. Yeah.
So this is a major part of our lives now.
Yes.
We're coming up on our first major deadline.
Yep.
which is the start of September.
And it's the entire first book in rough.
Yep. And plus some surplus material.
Plus some surplus material. Yeah.
And we're doing well.
Yeah, we're on track.
We're on track. We're doing really well. There are spreadsheets involved.
Oh, there are.
We have quotas. We've set ourselves quotas. Make some very satisfying spreadsheets that give you like a
satisfying.
Give you like a gold or a green star.
This is all thanks to you.
Thank
but like,
you,
you put in the number of pages.
Well, I've got to contribute something to this book.
The number of pages you've either written or I've drawn on any given day, and then the cell turns a different color depending on how well you've done that day, and then the totals all like contribute to whether or not you're on track to get the book done by the date required. It's very good. It's really cool.
Because we're
gamified.
It does help actually psychologically.
I think it does. Yeah,
because we're in this.
I can't wait till I level up.
we're in this slightly weird situation where, because we're a writer and an artist team.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, go.
Yes.
You must deliver
and start.
Yeah, you must deliver a book in kind of 9 months or whatever. And it's like, but you can't draw anything
until you've written it.
Until I've written it. So we can't start from like the start line and expect to finish at the same time.
No, exactly.
But also, if I went away and was like, okay, I'm going to go. Also, 208 pages.
Yeah.
Which is stress. Each book.
That's one book.
Yeah, that's one book. So like that's 832 comic pages, give or take.
Yeah, total.
In 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So, but if I just went away and was like, okay, Nick, I'm going to go spend 3 months writing,
and I'll just sit on my ass.
You just won't be doing anything. We can't waste that time.
We can't. No.
So
we're sort of writing and drawing simultaneously.
Yeah. So The Secret has been having a really robust synopsis.
Really robust synopsis.
Yeah. And dare I say, 15 years experience of doing this crap
definitely helps.
Oh my god, yeah, because
but what we've ended up doing is like offsetting our week. So you'll be writing at the start of the week and I'll be drawing in the latter half of the week, and that means that you've always got a lead on me. It's more complex than that, but roughly speaking, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're in it's a bit of a weird situation at the moment because like I write, you're going to draw.
But this is the tricky bit,
and then I'm going to
go back over it.
I'm going to letter it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's for those who don't know, making the speech bubbles and putting the text on and everything.
Yeah, which the time-consuming part is drawing every bubble, making it fit to the
text.
Trying to make the narrative flow across the page.
Not obscure too much artwork, but obscure enough because obviously the text is really important. Yeah, it's all a balance.
And we've worked collaboratively for years. The great thing about this is that sometimes we're literally in the same room.
Yeah.
Writing and drawing, and I might be writing a page which is only like 5 pages ahead of what you're drawing.
Yeah.
So we can literally be talking it through, which is kind of great. But yeah, it's kind of intense. And again, if we'd maybe tried to do this when we were 21 years old, we might die. We might.
Well, yeah, and pulling it back to that, this is what's so crazy about it happening now. Because if this had come when we had day jobs, I think we may have had to turn it down.
Yeah.
Or we would have had to quit there and then.
Just on the spot.
Yeah. Because there's no way with this schedule that this job could be done if you have a day job. There's just no way at all.
No, not at all.
The scale of it, the amount of work we're doing day to day, week to week, is just it is a day job.
Well, no, it's kind of unreal, and again, it is a kid's comic.
Yes,
because I'm in this really bizarre situation at the moment where I am simultaneously writing a 110-page After I Think graphic novel.
Yep.
And a 208-page kids graphic novel.
You are hard switching gears.
The tonal disconnect between the two is unreal. And also, like, we're talking about an adult graphic novel, which is physically bigger. Like, I mean, like the pages are wider and taller, and the font size is smaller.
Yes.
So there's more dense content per page. But it's a kid's book, so the pages are physically smaller,
and the text is
bigger. So you can only have fewer panels per page. You can have fewer words per page in principle.
Fewer bubbles per panel. It's weird.
So arguably, the content on this kids graphic novel we're working on is less dense.
Yeah.
But it's bizarre to think that, like, because of the pace we're having to keep to, the schedule we're having to, it's a lot of pages. Like,
and the page count, yeah.
It's unreal to be like, okay, well, effectively written and roughed out and rough lettered nearly 150 pages of comic in like 11 weeks.
It's mad.
It's insane.
We've
Yeah.
never worked on this speed and scale before.
No. It's because we have to. It's just kind
we
of
just have
that
to,
is the
yeah.
job right now. But yeah, it's mad.
It really is. It's kind of crazy. It's everything we're up to at the moment, really.
Yeah, so it is kind of all consuming, and we're again, we're hoping that soon. I think in the way we're kind of talking, maybe mid-September. This is our kind of based on our last discussion with the publishers. Maybe kind of mid-September going into October. That's when it will finally be announced.
I think
to the
so,
world,
to the world,
and then we can finally talk about it.
And if they confirm that, then obviously we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Yes, you'll probably be among some of the first to hear about it.
Woo!
But yeah, it's they're going to be kind of pre-launching it, if you will, at a major international book fair in October.
Yeah.
And book 1 will be hitting shelves in spring 2026.
Yeah.
Book 2 will be hitting shelves in summer 2026. And then book 3 and 4 in 2027.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spring and summer, respectively, again. So, yeah, it sounds like a long time away, but it's not.
It's really not. No. It's kind of like, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. A lot of fun, though.
A lot of fun.
But it is, I think the trick is going to be avoiding burnout.
Burnout, yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a mild bit of that last week where I just could not. Also, I'm trying to be funny. Like
this is it. The core of this comic is it's got to be funny.
It's got to be funny.
It's a
yeah.
funny book,
and obviously we're hilarious people.
We're very, very funny people.
But
as I'm sure you can tell from this episode so far.
It's so fun. And tonight, a very serious episode of a show called Hey.
About 2 boys and their comic book.
But yeah, like it's I think last week in particular, towards the tail end of the week, I was a bit like, I just can't string a joke together to save my life. And now, admittedly, maybe that's episodes 1 to 100 of this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, our fans would have a lot to say about that.
But the job is that you
just have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to fucking do it.
The thing is, I always say about writing, like, it's easy to do it when you feel like it.
Yeah.
The thing, I guess, that makes you a writer or an artist is that you're drawing when
it's not.
when you don't want to,
Yeah.
in a weird way, because you have to.
That's
and
so
also,
true.
it has to be good. You can't
Yep.
just phone it in. So
Nope. No. Yeah.
So having a bit of a bonzer week this week, and we're
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's us. That's kind of like
That's where we are.
That's the Nick and John report.
That's basically a very long-winded way of saying why we missed last episode.
Yeah,
Because we were a bit tired.
Yeah,
a couple of tired boys.
Tired, yeah.
Oh, you've got a comic to draw. Oh, what a hard life it is, you fucks.
Yeah, so yeah, that's our kind of bizarre life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy this podcast in these halcyon days before we have to delete it. Before the world realizes how awful we are as people.
Well, I've got a hate. That
You got a hate, yeah.
That kind of ties into everything we've just been saying.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, let it rip. Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck.
Big dog's got a hunt.
The big dog does gotta hunt. That's the thing. So Michael Bay.
Oh, he's back.
Michael Bay's back, and he's bringing the latest franchise craze to the screen. A bigger franchise than anything we've seen in movie history to date. You've got your Star Wars, you've got your Transformers,
Bigger than Star
you've got
Wars.
your Harry Potter, right?
Bigger than Transformers.
He's reaching for the stars with this because get this,
Oh.
Michael Bay is bringing to movie and TV Skibbity Toilet. This is happening. Skibbity.
I thought you were going to say like the Book of Genesis or something like.
No, well, no, this is bigger than the Bible, John.
Oh, bigger than the Bible.
Bigger than the Bible. Skibbity Toilet.
Oh,
Skibbity Toilet is coming to cinemas and HBO Max, probably. I don't know.
I feel sick. It's
Yep.
embarrassing when you and I try to explain or talk about Skibbity Toilet.
I know.
Michael Bay is 50 something.
At least double our age. I don't know.
Oh, no.
If you add both of our ages together, I think you get Michael Bay. It's hard to articulate what I hate about this. But I think one of the biggest things that annoys me, and we'll get into what Skibbity Toilet is in a minute for anyone who doesn't know, but it's basically a meme at this point. That's really basically all it is. There's no substance to it. And just because something's popular doesn't mean that you should make a movie out of it. Because if there's no meat on the bone, right, you've got nothing to work with. I know it's money. I know capitalists and executives and whatever at Hollywood.
But our creative seed can gain no purchase in this barren soil, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Is
Art's dead.
Yeah.
Art is dead.
What's the plot?
Well, there is a. You're an idiot because there is a plot to Skibbity Toilet. There isn't a plot, no, but there is a sequence of happenings across the Skibbity Toilet universe. Because basically, it's a series of videos that premiered on TikTok, YouTube, and Roblox, of all things.
Roblox?
Yeah, you can share videos on Roblox
You can
somehow.
do videos on Roblox?
I can do anything on Roblox, can't you, if you've got enough imagination, I guess. Worryingly. There's a black market on Roblox, let's be honest. And the core of it is that they've used assets from, I think, a video game.
Garry's Mod.
Is it Garry's Mod?
It's Garry's
yeah,
Mod.
I thought it was Garry's Mod. Which in turn is from Team Fortress or
same
Counter-Strike?
Half-Life,
Half-Life,
Counter-Strike.
that whole zone. Yeah, of games.
So it's
the orange box zone.
the handful of games that Valve made
Yes.
were all built using the same engine, and they
like
released
Portal.
a tool called Garry's Mod
Which allows you to fuck around with assets.
and build
Whatever you
whatever.
want.
Yeah, like having your own little Lego set, but
Yeah,
it's just
but video games.
figures. And they always move in a very particular way. Like their animations are very
I guess it's built into the engine.
jerky, janky.
Jerky, janky, stretchy.
Lends itself to weird internet comedy because they're a bit
a bit
gangly,
glitchy.
a bit glitchy. Yeah,
And we've seen a lot. And what's funny is that you can make games in Garry's Mod, but you can make videos as well. You can kind of use it as an animation platform.
yeah.
And capitalising on that glitchiness and the weirdness of internet meme culture and Garry's Mod brought all together, put in a big witch's cauldron, stirred up, you get Skibbity Toilet.
Yes.
There was a song that used a sample of a Turkish man dancing, saying Skibbity.
Oh, really?
Among other lyrics.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
fascinating to me. I didn't know
Yeah,
when this deep.
there's a song, and the song. This is what's crazy also about this media, right? Is that he sort of doesn't own the creator of it, who is this. I think he's Polish, who's Eastern European anyway, maybe Russian,
Right.
who made Skibbity Toilet. He doesn't really own a single part of what he's working with. The original song, the remix, the Turkish guy's sort of Skibbity phrase, Garry's Mod, and the assets used within Garry's Mod. None of those things he owns. But I
No.
guess in the same way that Daft Punk remix a load of pop music to make their songs, he's like the Daft Punk of toilets, right? Because he's bringing in all of it. That's what he'll be known as in his biography. He's bringing all these things together that he doesn't own a single pixel of, right? And he's crafting a grand narrative, you fuck.
Right.
So the core sort of premise, if you will, of Skibbity
Yeah. Give me the elevator pitch. Yeah.
is that you have two armies going to war, right? You have the Skibbity Toilets, or just the toilets, I think they're sometimes known as, and you have the cyborgs, right?
Okay.
And every video usually features a conflict between the two in some capacity or another. At first, the first few videos show. So I should explain. The Skibbity Toilets look like.
Please explain.
Yeah, please explain. Yeah, I'll go right back to the beginning. The Skibbity Toilets look like a toilet
A toilet.
with a long human neck coming up out of the bowl.
Okay.
And a head,
Yes.
bald head on the top. And it's gurning in this horrible sort of way that suggests that the geometry of the face has been pinched and pulled in a way beyond what it's supposed to be, like naturally.
Yeah,
right?
it's very kind of like distorted
and stretched,
Yeah.
spaghettified,
Yeah.
kind of, right? So this gurning, horrible, smiling, bald man,
Grimace.
grimace, if you will,
Visage.
no arms, no legs, just a neck out of the bowl and then a head, right?
Yeah, head in a toilet.
In a toilet. And then these toilets like scoot around. Not on wheels or anything, they're just sort of scooting about.
They just glide.
I guess they glide.
Yeah.
Some of them are very large, like the size of skyscrapers.
Oh.
Some of them are toilet sized. Some of them are tiny, like rat sized, which
Okay.
is weird, or mouse sized, right? And then they just skibbity about, I guess. All to this song. This song is always playing.
Are they saying skibbity?
No, they're just sort of gurning,
Right, they just kind of smile.
and sometimes their head can fully rotate, not like an owl about the base of the skull, but more like, I don't know how to describe it, more like a propeller.
Oh.
They turn that way, which doesn't
Right.
work geometry-wise, again, obviously. And then they just scoot. And the first few videos are like, it's always from a first-person view, as though you are looking out of the eyes of an innocent human. They'll be somewhere, like maybe in a restaurant, maybe they'll be on a rooftop garden, something like that in New York. And then you'll start to hear the music very, very quietly. And it's like, oh, he's near, right? And then a door will burst open, or a cupboard will burst open, or a hatch in the ground will open, and suddenly, there's a skibbity toilet there. And he'll sort of scarily invade the scene, and then he'll jump scare because his face will be like, bam, straight into the camera, and his horrible, gurning, kind of horrifying face will like end, and it'll be like less than a minute long.
Okay.
Right? And it will always end with this jump scare. But then after a while, the video started to be about armies of skibbity toilets going to war with the cyborgs, which basically look like kind of like men in black business suits with black ties, but their heads were CCTV cameras.
Okay.
And for all I know, the saga has evolved and they don't look like that anymore.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure the toilets have remained roughly the same.
Yeah, well, you can't lose that core USB,
You really can't. That's
you?
really
No.
the core DNA at the heart of it.
In today's society, like your IP is gold. You
Yes.
know, don't let it go.
Nintendo understand the power of IP. And so too, the creator of Skibbity Toilet, Eastern European mystery man, the Daft Punk of toilets. So,
Okay, yeah, grand, yeah.
So 48 episodes later, I think we are. It has more views collectively across YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram Reels than similar searches for Harry Potter, Star Wars, Transformers content, right? So that's not to say
I see
that
what you
it's
mean.
a bigger franchise, but
Yeah.
that's how it's being
But
marketed.
if you're a soulless executive
Yes.
and all you
This is all you're looking at.
Yeah, because it's like this. It's just an equation. It's just an in-out
Yes.
of
Money.
more people be searching for
More people would
Skibbity
be more money.
than
Star
Harry
Wars.
Potter, than Star Wars.
Yeah.
Ergo,
It's bigger than Star Wars.
it's bigger than Star Wars.
And I think a lot of this is kids. Like,
Yeah.
very young kids as well. Like, stupid. The same kids we're appealing to in our comic, by the way. Shit. There's no skibbity in our comic at all. Yes, and they love it. I think they're hungry for Skibbity Toilet.
Now, it's funny that you know so much about Skibbity Toilet because I asked you earlier today what hit that gritty meant. And
I still don't know.
And you have no idea.
No, I have focused all my attention on Skibbity Toilet.
Okay, so when did...
Do you know what hit that gritty means?
No, as I
Still
asked
don't
you. No. When did that... when did this announcement hit? How did you learn about this?
I learned about it through TikTok.
Okay,
Because
wow.
I'm a bad person.
Part of the problem.
Yes, but then I followed it up to see whether or not I was being
Is this
trolled.
real? Yeah.
Yeah, and I found an article on Variety about Michael Bay.
Okay.
And there was an interview with him, and there were excerpts and quotes from this interview in the article that I am inclined to believe is far more credible than the shitty TikTok I watched about it.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, he says the words. If the quote is to be believed, he says the words "skibbity toilet" in the interview, and believes he can make something of this. This very stupid, very memey.
So is there any self-awareness in this interview? Does he acknowledge that, like, it's baffling and weird, but
No.
he thinks he can...
No, it seems to be, because again, I've only seen quoted clips from the interview, but it seems to be that he's trying to suggest that he's fully in. Like, he gets it.
Oh, well, I mean,
he
with enough
understands.
money, I'd say anything.
I mean, to be honest, there's no levels or layers to this thing. You know, like, it is exactly what you see.
Is it? Do you remember when we were younger? This is sorry.
Barely, actually.
Nobody's going to get this reference now, but kind of early 2000s.
Yeah.
there was the crazy frog.
Yes.
Phenomenon.
Bim, bim, bim.
Yes, which began life, I believe, as an early YouTube video of
Yes.
a kid doing with his mouth doing an impression of the sound of a engine like revving.
Yes,
Like
a motorbike, like bim, 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 bim kind of engine.
Yeah, and then somebody, just another person, just took that audio and set it to a bizarre little animation of a frog
Yeah.
revving an invisible bike.
I think there was a step between.
Oh,
Because they put it to that Axel F tune.
yes, but wasn't that a single?
Oh, did that come after?
They did actually release it. No, I don't know where that...
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
I don't know where
Yes.
that originated, but it became an actual pop
So it was a
phenomenon.
video of a kid making a motorcycle noise.
Yes.
Then some other random person put
Yes.
it to a weird frog animation.
Yeah, and for some reason the frog had a little penis out
Yes, he did. And he was floating around on an invisible motorbike.
on an invisible bike.
Yes. This took the world by storm.
Yes.
Seconds later, someone puts it to a music video or remixed song of that tune.
It got an official
Music
release.
video, yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder who lost control, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, who
because-
cashed in?
Yeah, because like What's weird about the Skibbity Toilet thing, right, is that you would think these sort of internet meme type things are never really owned by any one person.
Yeah.
Because you can never really find out who made it because it's all made by anonymous people on 4chan, right, or something. But in Skibbity Toilet's case, they can track it to the creator and his channel, right?
Yeah.
So he will be the one getting the $60 million license.
Even though, of course, now again,
money.
This is the Daft Punk of toilets.
He is.
The Avalanche's frontier psychiatrist.
Indeed.
You know, it's like he didn't invent the concept of a toilet. He didn't invent Gary's Mod. He didn't create that song.
He didn't
but he
invent
was
a
the
single
person
part
who
of
put
it
it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a counterpart would be Slenderman.
Yes, another good example.
Because Slenderman began life on the Something Rotten forums.
Oh, is that where it began?
Yeah, and when I was at secondary school, people were talking about Something Rotten.
Oh, I hated
as this
it. I
awful
hated
forum.
it. Yeah,
just
yeah.
disgusting content.
Yeah.
But I think they had a photo contest to try and do
Creepiest
spooky
photo.
haunted photos, like old black and white photos of a Photoshop kind of
Yeah,
spooky images in. And I think that's where it originated. There's one guy, I can't remember his name. I don't know his name actually, so I can't remember something I don't know. But he did. He put it was like kids playing in a playground, and he photoshopped
He stood behind them.
what we now think of as Slenderman.
Yeah.
But obviously the internet took this and ran with it,
And it became everyone's property.
kind of owned by everyone, kind
Yeah.
of like Creative Commons sort of thing. But now again, spooky photo, just spooky photo. It wasn't even called Slenderman, I don't think.
Really interesting.
But then as a community, a disorganized community, they created the myth of Slenderman. And there were video games made. Because anyone could just make a Slenderman game.
And this is it, right? So potentially the original creator was not getting any of that video.
No,
game
I
money.
don't think so. And then at some point, after Slenderman became a global phenomenon, he was able to, I think he lawyered up. And I think he was able to prove that he'd originated it.
Wow.
And then he owned the Slenderman license. And there was a movie which was officially sanctioned from
And was that
him.
well received?
Not especially, no.
No. So
It's
that was all-
mediocre.
that was all worth it
They
then.
just put it into the Hollywood engine. And
Yeah, exactly.
Some underpaid screenwriter.
But this is exactly what we're talking about
Yeah.
here, right? You've just given two brilliant, actually better than I could have brought to the table, examples of how this has kind of been done before.
Right.
Slenderman and the Crazy Frog, right? And in both cases, I feel as though the original creator, and I put that in heavy air quotes because fuck
Yeah.
me, they did nothing, right? But they were making silly memes. They never had any intention of this being valuable IP. But it got so lost in the mix as to who actually made it that any fucking studio could just be savvy enough to pick it up and make what they wanted from it, right?
But actually, yeah, I don't take too much credit because just two random ideas popped into my head, like Crazy Frog and Slenderman.
Yeah.
But the comparisons are quite apt because
It's actually weird.
because Crazy Frog, who owns that? Because is it the kid who did the random audio,
This is what I mean.
the person who did the random graphics? Slenderman, a guy did a funky image.
But then someone else wrote a creepypasta
The
story
community
with
made
a,
up the
with a story and a name and everything.
And that's the only thing that made a studio care enough to
Yeah.
commission a movie because
This
it had
is exactly
this
my point,
baggage,
right? Is that it's just this miasma of random weirdos on the internet
Yeah,
fucking about with memes,
yeah,
right? And an executive of a studio could just go, well, fuck this. Like, nobody owns this. We'll have it.
yeah.
We'll gain all the popularity and all the market penetration without having to pay anyone a single fucking penny for the privilege, right? And that's kind of exactly what happened with
Yeah.
both Crazy Frog and Slenderman. Obviously, the Slenderman thing came around a little bit when the original creator
Yeah.
came back. But ignoring that part of it, they just grabbed something that was theirs and they made it into something, right?
Yeah.
Both of which weren't really lasting successes, right? But it's happening again here, except the only difference is that we do know who made it, and they are getting credited, and they are the one person at the very core of the IP, which I find very interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because again, that person has just bastardized a load of other people's content to make it. But that's fine. That's some kind of creativity, right?
And I imagine there's a ton of because the skill involved in making a skibidi
toilet.
a skibidi toilet is not high because anyone with Gary's mod could do it. You could probably find the exact same model.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
So-
be surprised if he hadn't even made that.
So it's probably a ton of imitators.
Oh, yeah. I think there are.
So I guess the question would be when Michael Bay and whatever studio codify this into, well, now this is ours, do they, with the long arm of the law, start clamping down.
Oh, on all the imitators.
Yeah, because it's like, well, you're infringing our copyright, even though this is this weird thing that kind of belonged to everyone.
I
And
wouldn't
no
be
one.
surprised. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a movie.
Yes.
Yes.
And apparently they're optioning for both movie and TV series. I have no idea how a TV series is supposed to work. There have already been Skibidi Toilet plushies released.
Interesting.
Official merchandise connected to the true creator and owner of the IP.
Grandma, can I have a Skibidi Toilet plushie?
What?
I fought in the war. Why do you sound like me, Grandma? I don't know. Sir.
I don't know.
I don't know, Timmy.
I'm very young, but I sound like an old lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very pretty plushie, as I'm sure you can understand.
Well, no. I like...
It's a bit of a complicated shape as well to make into a plushie.
We were talking earlier about how it's really weird that both The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter have a ghastly naked grey man as a lovable mascot.
Like a skinny, bony, ugly thing, goblin.
Merry Christmas, Samantha. I got you a Dobby plushie. Ooh, it's an emaciated grey man.
I wish you hadn't.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Thanks, Mum. Curse me now.
It's fine.
Yeah, both Dobby and Gollum, two of the most deliberately ugly characters in those franchises, also do have plushies.
I guess the question is this how, say, our parents felt when they had to begrudgingly buy us an Optimus Prime, and they
this is what I was going to propose.
Okay.
Was is this the realization that we are out of touch now? Is our inability to understand the cultural value of Skibidi Toilet akin to my parents being completely, and I can tell you this objectively, that they were completely unable to understand what I liked about Power Rangers?
Oh, yeah, my parents were like,
They hated Power Rangers.
I remember my mom saying, you do realise that they don't do their own stunts. Like, it's just, like the people in the costume are different people. I was heartbroken.
Really?
Yeah, to learn that. In hindsight, it's obvious, but
my parents would just take the mick all the time about all they ever did was make that noise, Pwah! Which they do all the time.
They do that a lot, yeah.
And
in many ways, it's a bad show.
Yes, and how every episode was identical to the last one.
But I loved it.
I loved it so much as well.
Yeah.
And I stand by that love, because even though we were just able to go, it is a bad show, and it is.
Yeah.
It meant something, which we've talked about before, about how we were being shown imaginative ideas, worlds, and characters that weren't being shown anywhere else. And yes, it wasn't great. It wasn't even good, but it was different, and it was new, and it was interesting.
Yeah. But we're at this dangerous threshold now where we're pushing 40, and suddenly it is a case of us saying, no, the kids are wrong. It's like, anything which is 10, 20 years removed from you is inherently stupid.
Yes,
it is. Like, it isn't, but that's the mindset that we all fall into.
The thing is that I have managed to keep watching a lot of youthful stuff.
Yes,
right?
like we are overgrown children.
Exactly.
You and I.
Yes, yeah. And I still watch episodes of Pokemon. I still watch episodes of animes that are targeted at younger ages.
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of enjoyment from colourful action-adventure stories, particularly animated ones, for younger age groups, because I often want a brighter, more optimistic outlook in my adventure stories. And some of them are kind of written for all ages, and that's when you find the gold amongst a lot of the shit.
Is the difference that we have never before had an era in pop culture, contemporary culture, where the majority of content that is being consumed by the youth is also being created by the youth.
That's interesting.
This is what YouTube and TikTok have given us, because, even if you think of some like standout pieces of children's media from the last decade, like Gravity Falls.
Yes.
Which I still hold up as, I think, one of the greatest cartoons ever made.
Or Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Exactly. Like, of like... Avatar: The Last Airbender was the late 2000s.
Yep.
Gravity Falls was like 2012 to 2014. But those were ostensibly adults making content for children.
Absolutely they were.
And this is like kind of like 18-year-olds making content for like 12-year-olds.
12-year-olds, yeah, very true. I actually don't know how old the creator of Skibidi Toilet is, but I can presume he is that age.
So, and there's no filter, there's no editors, there's no commissioning, there's no publishers, there's no networks.
Well, this is maybe the most profound part of it, because like previously there was no way that an idiot 18-year-old with barely any knowledge of anything could get a thing that they made out to that many eyeballs. There just wasn't a way they could do it. But the power of the internet, it gives that ability, right?
Yeah.
So now something kind of shit, because it is deliberately a bit shit.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because it's shit.
Yeah, and it's funny because like we could rant and rave and blame the children for enjoying something silly,
And we should.
and I think in a weird way, the person who looks worse out of all of this is Michael Bay.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think we've known for a long time now that Michael Bay will quite happily put his name to something that lacks creative
Yeah, but you make a good
integrity.
point, because the creator knows it's shit and silly.
It's
The kids are going to move on to something new in the next 10 minutes. Michael Bay will struggle to bring this weird idea to movie, and by the time he does, it will be irrelevant.
There were like shows that our haunted sepia photograph of a nation would produce when we were young. You know, kind of like trying to appeal to the youth.
The youth.
And there are moments where, you know, it was like kids and parents learn to love each other's stuff, you know. And those episodes would always end with, like, say, the parents doing a rap for their children. And I would turn inside out and die. I'm a ghost now. I've been a ghost since the age of 16.
Yeah.
Is this... But, I mean, like, we're going, oh, Skibbity Toilet, it's stupid. Well, good news, everyone. Michael Bay just killed it, because I guarantee the moment this movie comes out, it will be the least cool thing on the planet.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think even the biggest... Because right now, I can imagine, even if the kids are aware of this news, that Michael Bay is making a Skibbity Toilet film, I could...
Kids do pay a lot of attention to what Michael Bay is up to. Yeah,
exactly. Let's say that they're aware. I can imagine some of them might be excited. I can also imagine that in 15 minutes, they will be thinking about something else.
Mother, Michael Bay has released a new videogram. You know, on the daguerreotype.
You're such an old soul, aren't you, little Jerry?
Little Gary. It's
bad all round, really. But here we are.
Good times.
Drink it in.
I've got a hate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll like this. I hate Car-jitsu.
Car-jitsu.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
How do you think that is spelled? And by extension, what do you think it means?
Okay, so Car-jitsu.
Yeah.
The first part is a car. C-A-R.
Yes.
Yes.
Got it in one.
And I'd like to think it's about cars in some way. Jitsu, I think there's a couple of meanings for that.
Yeah. Don't overthink it.
Okay. Martial arts with cars.
Yes.
So
well,
the question is it either men punching cars, or is it people driving cars and fighting with cars, and they think they've created a martial art?
No, you have described two infinitely more exciting and not weird versions of what it actually is.
Unbelievable. I can't believe I missed it.
Car-jitsu
Here we go.
is, well, I was going to say it's a real sport, but I think we've discovered in this age where everyone owns an iPhone, anything is technically a real sport.
Yeah.
Car-jitsu...
Wheel's doing a lot of heavy lifting here, I think.
Car-jitsu is a competitive martial art.
Here we go.
Where two grown men fight each other in a car.
So they're both... Okay. So they're both in the car.
In the car.
The same car.
Yeah.
One in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat,
Yes.
for example?
Yeah.
And then they fight.
They fight.
Fuck me.
Now, you may be asking yourself, Nick, is the car stationary?
Is the car stationary?
The car is stationary, so it's not quite as exciting as you're hoping it would be.
No. I kind of was hoping it was stationary, actually. Yeah.
So imagine a garage.
Sure.
With heavy studio lighting pointing at a stationary car.
Brilliant.
Two men wearing gi.
Oh, that's worse. That's a part of it I don't like. The funny thing is, up until now, I'd pictured them as like in little boxer shorts, like they were boxers.
Yeah.
For some reason, and they're just topless, right? Maybe oiled.
Right. Yeah.
And that they were like, but no, they're trying to look like fucking Ryu from Street Fighter.
Now, do not ask me how this came about, but there are rules. There is like a code of conduct, and
An international championship.
And an international car jiu-jitsu championship. And I think this began
Fuck me.
where they're not just getting random dudes and putting them in gis. I think the point is they are all martial artists.
So you're already a martial artist of high renown.
Oh,
Low renown.
They can't just let any idiot fight in the car jitsu world.
No, you've got to get past the gear stick, haven't you? And your erection, I suppose.
So, stationary car
Stationary car.
in a black studio
Good lord.
under heavy studio lighting. 2 men in gis climb into the car. One into the driver's seat, one into the passenger seat. Bear in mind, there's cameras, like, you're getting a lot of views, kind of each window, the front. You know, there's a couple of, like, a GoPro inside or
Is there
something.
glass in the windows?
It's a car, Nick.
Well, what I'm saying is for safety, right? There's going to be a lot of thrown punches.
So, the rules are...
I want to say for the record, by the way, I would have never guessed this. Never.
The rules are... You climb in, one in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat. You have to put your seatbelt on.
Unbelievable. I don't tolerate it.
You put your seatbelt. You're wearing a full gi.
Full gi.
Put your seatbelt on.
Hate it.
There is like an umpire, like a ref.
Is he sat in the back seat?
No, he's like standing next to the car, kind of like looking.
Great.
So again, I've never done jiu-jitsu. I could be wrong in this. I think jiu-jitsu is like I could be very wrong in this, but I think it's a submission-based martial art.
Yeah, I thought it involved a lot of holds and a lot of throws.
Yeah, like it's a lot of intense action. Then you get someone in a hold,
In an unescapable position.
and you
yeah.
apply pain,
And then they go, yeah.
they tap out, and that's how you win a point.
Yeah.
So 2 jiu-jitsu experts climb into a car.
Does it have to be jiu-jitsu?
God knows.
Okay.
It's not karate,
That was amazing.
That's great. Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, it's way better.
Fuck, that's much better.
Yeah.
2 jiu-jitsu experts climb into this car, plug in the safety belt because we're not, safety is very important.
Yeah.
The referee is like lurking by the window.
Like a weird creep.
Yeah,
at
like
a
leaning
dogging
in.
session.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, I think let's not bring up dogging.
No, I think we should bring up dogging.
No. I think it's very important we never say the word dogging.
This is borderline dogging.
Camera,
A load of people watching 2 people in a car.
heavy studio lighting.
Yeah, steamy windows.
Steamy windows. And
That was my porn star name.
referee blows a whistle. The moment the battle begins, you have to. So it's a race to undo your seatbelt.
Weird.
The rules are, I believe, much the same as jiu-jitsu. You have to get a submission. You are allowed to use everything in the car. So
Okay, I don't really know how.
So the car itself is an environment
Is a
that you
weapon.
can use to your environment. I'll be honest with you, they're not like popping the cigarette lighter and then burning each other.
That would be brilliant.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
They're not like opening the glove compartment and there's a gun. That would be amazing. That'd be fun.
I'd watch that first
But-
to get to the gun.
They use the seatbelts a lot. So like they'll like try and wrap the seatbelt around someone's neck,
Sounds bad.
So
Sounds like bad viewing.
so my journey to car jitsu
Yeah, I'd love to know how you got to
is
know about
I
this.
think we'd been watching some weird novelty sports like Ultimate Tag
Oh, I love Ultimate Tag. Now, yeah, you can never take that away
or
from
like
me.
I don't know frisbee golf or
Yeah.
weird.
I've played frisbee golf.
Weird little
I'm
things
quite
like
good
that.
at it.
Or Ultimate Paintball.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't done that.
And I think it just came up on our recommending. So it's like, car jitsu, that sounds like a laugh. Let's watch this. It's from the national championships, and you click on it, and you're like it. I watched like a couple of rounds, and then you just start to feel a bit weird.
Yes.
So 2 men, and then like they go 3, 2, 1.
hate
The
it
whistle
already.
is blown. Instantly pop there. And it seems to be the winner. Is very much comes down to who can get their seatbelt off first.
Interesting. I've never struggled to get my seatbelt off.
No, well, I mean, in this game of Masters,
I've never done it in a battle environment.
No,
before.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the
we're
thing.
talking like split-second reactions.
Sure.
And then they leap on each other in like
dogging.
well, I mean, I think it's actually one of the rules. You're not allowed to say that word. But,
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but harsh studio lighting
You keep bringing up the harsh studio lighting.
Yeah, I feel it's important to suggest how bring to mind. Now I do martial arts once a week.
You do,
and I wear a gi, and it gets.
Because you're cool too.
I'm very cool. Not in a car. It gets warm.
It's
a
a
warm
thick
garment.
fabric, right?
I wouldn't want to wear that on a regular car journey, let alone a car fight.
Right.
And yet,
a car fight.
Now imagine harsh studio lighting.
Harsh studio lighting.
There's a lot of steam.
Right.
The windows are fogging.
And the
quite
referee is outside the car.
Yes, he's outside the car. And the windows
disagree with
are
that.
up
Right.
because
Safety.
you wouldn't want someone to like escape or something.
No, I suppose.
So like they leap on each other
Nice.
in the car. I feel I can't say that enough.
No.
And so whoever gets their seatbelt off first tends to have the advantage.
Yes, because they can do the leaping.
Yeah, so they spring upon, barefoot, the other person.
Yep.
And they tend to try and grab their seatbelt and wrap it around their neck.
That's okay.
Or
yeah.
they might put like, say, a foot on someone's face.
Nice. I'm
and
into
like
that.
smash them in smash sounds quite dramatic, more like press them
Into the headrest.
into the headrest, say.
Yeah.
Or I think I saw one fight where he managed to like turn his opponent kind of over and like his head was in the
And
footwell.
spank him on the ass.
Yeah. Well, I mean that was optional. That's just like for flair
That was
points.
for flavour, yeah.
Yeah.
So his head was in the footwell, so between his knees.
Yeah, so he's kind of got like a foot on his head.
Right.
And like he's trying to wrap any limb he can in, and you're doing whatever you can with that seatbelt. Anything in the car is a weapon.
Anything in the car is a weapon.
Yeah.
Snap off the handbrake, use that. If you
Yeah,
want.
and harsh studio lighting.
Harsh studio lighting.
Yeah, and and in the
Deep shadows.
and it's not the kind of like we're not talking like fists of fury. It's not like bang bang bang.
There's no room, is
no
there?
punches. There's a lot of kind of like there's a flurry of action. You hear like a slap of meat on meat. Harsh studio lighting.
Harsh studio lighting.
Like a squeak of like kind of flesh on like kind of wet glass.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then it's like a lot of like muffled grunting for like 2 minutes as we wait for someone to.
Because at this point we can't see anything anymore.
Really,
of course, the windows have steamed up.
very
at this
hard
point.
to see much of anything. Yeah.
How sexy is it? Like, is it sexy? Is it quite sexy?
Oh, I was at half chub.
Yeah. Me and my brother used to have a game we played.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Where we would fight over the sofa. This is
Sure.
when we were young, scrappy boys.
Young scrappy boys.
A
yeah.
couple of days ago.
Rubber bones.
A couple of rubber bone boys.
Yeah, nothing to fear.
That's what the neighbourhood called us. They said,
whole-
"Here come those rubber bone boys."
So much potential.
So much potential. One could be an astrophysicist one
Yeah.
day, they said. Those two rubber bone boys. The game was, one of us would lie. It would usually start because one of us had taken the whole sofa like a prick, right?
Yeah.
Either one of us could have done it. It was often me who took the whole sofa because I was a longer boy, because I was older, right? So you lie across the sofa, and then the other one has to try and get the sofa off of you.
Sure.
And the game would begin by them going, "Hey, can I sit on the sofa?" And you on the sofa, you go, "No, fuck off. The sofa's mine, you prick."
Yeah.
And so then the fight begins.
This is the subtle dance.
Yes,
This
is the testosteronific dance of the Rubber Bone Boys, and so the opponent, the off the sofa opponent, the strategy always was to climb onto the back of the sofa, the back of the headrest, right, and then full length. So they're now in parallel with the person on the sofa. They would slide down the headrest and sort of chop into the gap between your back
I see what you mean.
and the headrest to sort of unseat the owner of the sofa.
Yeah.
And like a chisel, kind of separate them from the back.
Well, that's a pro strat.
And then you'd roll, the previous owner of the sofa would roll away and fall onto the ground.
Yeah.
And then you would be the victor and you'd have
Yeah.
the sofa. But then it would just loop around. And then
Yeah.
the player one would now become player two, and they would slide down the back. And it would go on. And we'd go like this for minutes.
Yeah.
Until we were both exhausted, very sweaty, and of course at half chub. That's my brother I'm talking about there, so that's not awkward at all.
That's why it's not weird.
But he's not.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah, your point?
No, that was it.
Yeah. So just
It's a good game though.
Just a couple of guys roughhousing.
Just a couple
It's
of
fine.
rubber bone boys.
I
Roughhousing in
feel
a closed environment.
the ceremony of having live
harsh studio lighting,
and 2 professional sports commentators desperately trying to
make this significant,
make this seem legitimate, and
Yes.
not just 2 men grappling.
Do you remember when we watched the International Canadian Beyblade Championships?
Yes,
And,
well, I remember it vividly. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And it was 7 middle-aged men
And 1 boy
and 1 boy in a park.
in rural Toronto.
Very little ceremony, pomp, or circumstance.
Yes.
1 Beyblade arena and a couple of suitcases full of toys.
If ever there was a lesson of how much heavy lifting a YouTube thumbnail can do, I've so much CGI lightning, and it said Beyblade World Championship.
So much CGI lighting.
I thought it was going to be like, we're talking like the Stanley Cup, or like, Blue Jay Way Arena. I thought it was going to be incredible.
Because I think there's a lot of work that has to be done in order to make your bullshit sport look legitimate.
Yes.
And I think it comes by doing things like having a thumbnail with a lot of CGI lightning, or having a referee, or having an audience of any description. I saw clips from the semi-finals of the Tech Deck Trick Championship.
Oh, the little skateboards.
The little figure skateboards, yeah. And basically, it was a table about the size of a dining room table, and it was completely covered in what looks like a micro skate park. It was actually quite cool. It kind of looked like a great arena to do some Warhammer in.
Oh,
right?
fantastic.
Except
yeah.
it was a skate park.
A skate park, yeah.
And then there was this guy, and he had to do a line of tricks that he had said he was going to complete. And the way it started is he basically guided, without doing it for real, he guided the skateboard through the various sections. He was like, I'm going to do a half pipe lump here, then I'm going to do a grind across this bar, and then I'm going to land, I'm going to do a kickflip, 180 fakie landing to nose bone transfer. Right?
Great, yeah.
And then the referee, there was a referee, was like, okay, you've got 3 attempts. And then he had to do that sequence of tricks. And he failed the first 2, and he succeeded on the 3rd, and the crowd went wild. And what was crazy is that, incredibly, this scene managed to legitimize the Tech Deck semi-finals of the National Championships of Idaho, or whatever the fuck I was watching, because it was kind of a stadium. There were about 1,000 people watching him, and they fucking lost their shit when he did it. And weirdly, it was quite kind of impressive, because I could see close up what he was doing with his little fingers and his little Tech Deck toy and shit. And I was like, fuck me, that was quite cool.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I do not think that he deserves to be entered into our Olympic team for Tech Decks.
For tech decking, yeah.
No, but that's how you make something a little more legitimate.
Well, yeah, because we had this, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, but we had this fine line where at the last Olympics,
Yes.
skateboarding made
Yes.
it in. Now, obviously skateboarding is a very skilled,
No
sport
doubt.
profession, but it's funny when they wheel out the sports commentators who have to legitimize it through words.
They have to, yeah.
They've got to talk the talk.
They've got to MC it.
Yeah, so they're saying, oh, that's a sick Charlie Brooker off to irregular doorstop, you know, and
Yeah, with moon physics. Can't believe.
yeah,
fakey
slash
landed
dab
that.
the moon physics. Jesus, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a Jarrow March. Christ, onto a Boer War. It's remarkable, and you get the trappings of sport,
Yes.
and it's weird at first. But after a generation or 2,
Yeah.
we don't think about it. It's just, that's just real. That's just how that sport is.
And I guess the answer is it's all made up, right?
Yeah.
Like you do it enough and with enough conviction,
Yeah.
and everyone goes, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
But
So
7 guys and a boy in a park, that did not make.
no, that did not fit. So the Beyblade World Toronto Championships did not live up to the hype.
No.
I
was
think
not convinced that Beyblade had reached that level.
I don't think any sport can be legitimate if it involves kneeling on grass in a
No.
public park.
I think we need some sort of impressive premises.
Yeah.
And maybe some harsh studio lighting.
Yes, harsh studio lighting. Now,
Yes.
aeration is also important, but not in the sport of Kar-Jitsu. So you'll be pleased to know it's best out of 3.
Great.
So
I've got to
2
put up with this man.
intensely sweaty men will grapple in the footwell.
Is there a women's?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
They're probably more sensible than this.
Yeah. They advertised. Bless them. No one answered. So 2 intensely sweaty men will jam one of their heads into a footwell. They'll
That's the pro strat.
Yeah, they'll press kind of cheesy flesh against beard. The harsh studio lighting. The car
Harsh studio
will get
lighting.
so like I cannot begin to describe it. And I think the thing that drew my attention to this was the fact that they had two tame commentators who were kind of trying so hard
to make something out.
Yeah,
of it.
they'll be saying something. Oh, that's a fantastic seat release there.
Yeah. Textbook maneuver around the handbrake.
Yeah,
I like to see it. Always put it in neutral.
I see he's pivoting off the dash. That's good to see.
Yeah. Oh, he's changed the clock for daylight savings.
Yeah,
Good to know.
and they will say, and they would say stuff like, and as you can see, the car is getting quite warm.
They would say that.
Yeah, they would say that. Yeah,
which you'd think they would be used to by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously someone wins. Yeah, eventually the person whose head is in the foot will tap out.
Tappy tap.
And then,
on the dashboard.
But of course it's best out of 3.
Of course it is.
So of course they
strap in. Do they change seats this time?
They certainly do. So they calmly return to the seated position. They open the doors. They walk around the car. They get back in the other side.
Bow?
No. Battle has not ended. So there's no need to bow. So they get back into the car, exchanging seats, shut the door.
I hate this.
Put the seatbelt back on.
I hate this.
And
this is nothing.
The whistle blows.
This is nothing.
The thing is, Nick, it's very easy to say, but like if two people choose to fight in a car in their private garage, that's not a sport. No one's calling it a sport.
It's not.
But
no,
when you
maybe a crime
rent studio space
with
harsh
studio lighting.
Now, some of those lamps are nearly 200 watts.
And there's a sort of greenhouse effect.
Yeah. It's really like
the light's going straight in, but it's sort of the heat generated by the reflection of that light is staying within the car's cabin.
It's the epitome of a closed system.
Indeed.
Like
yes.
Everything humans bring into the car
stays within
the car. Yeah.
Do you think their wives are watching? They don't have wives. Sorry, I don't know.
What are you saying? No. And
I was joking.
Maybe this would be marginally better if the car in which they battled was in the middle of a kind of arena where a lot of people were watching and it was quite airy. Maybe they were it's like a camera feed from the car.
Yes, a GoPro on the dashboard. Maybe.
But I cannot stress enough that all you see is the car, the harsh studio lighting, a referee dancing about the exterior of the car.
Desperately trying to catch a glimpse.
Yeah, a few interior shots, and then everything you see is quite black and small. Like, I don't know what space they're in, but it's not massive.
Is there much of a crowd?
Oh, no, literally there's no one.
Oh, my God.
Like, you don't see anything.
Oh, my God, that's so much worse.
Now, maybe...
I had imagined there were like 7 people watching. 3 on one side, 4 on another. That's what I'd imagine.
No,
no one watching.
We could be charitable and we could imagine that behind the main camera, because we're only seeing like 180 degrees of this.
Right.
We could imagine there's a big studio audience.
Oh, we could imagine.
There isn't.
No.
Literally, there are like 3 people on camera at most at a time.
Is it a cool car?
No, it's like a...
Nissan Sunny.
It's an estate. It's like a family mid-90s.
I suppose you don't want a good car because you're going to smash it all up inside with all this cheesy flesh.
Well, then you're getting into weird categories where it's like, well, should there be like a smart car category all the way up to like
There's a lot of space in a smart car, to be fair.
Yeah, a modern Range Rover.
I reckon I could take a man in a smart car out for a costly pasta meal, that is to say.
That's the first round.
Yeah. Okay, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate everything about that.
Yeah, it's
actually one of the worst things you've ever brought to the table.
Yeah,
you've brought bone smashing to the table.
Yeah, I feel it would all have been marginally better if the commentator hadn't at one point said, and the car is getting quite warm right now.
Because that really brings it home, doesn't it? Like, I can almost taste the air in there.
Yeah, you can...
cut it.
Viscerally imagine what it would smell like in there.
Yeah, I guess that's probably why the ref isn't on the back seat. I do still think the ref should be on the back seat.
The ref should probably have been... But I think, although I didn't see it in those 2 rounds I watched, I think the whole car is fair game.
So the fight could go on to the back seat.
I think if someone chose to like leap onto the back seat, that would be like
difficult.
Gain some ground.
Gain some ground, a bit of space there.
Bit of space.
Then they could do the sofa technique that me and my brother do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Get into the boot. A bit of privacy in there.
Yeah, just to recover for a bit.
maybe there's snacks.
Maybe there's a tyre iron.
Oh,
clang.
Maybe there's a gun.
Just look for the gun.
Maybe there's a man in the boot. Maybe he's like an ally.
Yeah.
He'll tap.
It's a sort of
onto your
tag
side.
team recruitment system.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan's in the boot. Get him out.
Well, that was old.
Get Hulk out of the boot.
Get him out.
Get him out of the boot.
Like those old video games where like you'd find like a roast chicken and that'll give you some health back.
Castlevania was good for that. You'd break a wall and there'd be some chicken in the wall.
Yeah.
Old wall chicken.
Like maybe if you can get into the back, there's like a kind of like, kind of damp sandwich.
Yeah. And you can either eat that for energy.
What's that? Egg?
Is that egg?
Yeah.
What's that? Egg? You can either eat it for energy or you can put it in their eyes.
Yeah, egg and
Egg to the eyes. Oh, classic technique there.
Oh, it's a classic ovoid connection.
1985 textbook move. The ovoid connection.
Anyhow, that's
Harsh
me.
Studio lighting. Yes,
You
that's...
gotta love.
I've got to love.
You
Yes.
gotta love. Come on.
I love Boz Eyes. So calling back to the comic that we're making.
Yeah.
Every now and then, I will draw a character with Boz Eyes, and it's every time. It's funny. Every single time when a character's eyes go out instead of pointing in like cross eyes, it is fucking hilarious. And I can make any moment like... sometimes a frame doesn't necessarily need any comedy in it. You haven't written a joke for it.
I haven't written a joke for like 20 pages.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck it, we're dying here.
The doldrums.
There's something
now.
we've got to do, and I'm just the artist. What can I do? I know. I'll do the heavy lifting on this fucking
Gotta
page.
do that
Sean.
heavy lifting, yeah.
Boz. Let's go Boz. Let's
Yeah.
go full Boz. Sometimes you
Yeah.
can go full Boz. This is it. There's never a situation where you can't go full Boz. Get those eyes going wide. Any context, really. Doesn't matter. Especially when a character is being referred to by another character. It's powerfully poignant if the character doing the referring is doing it in a positive way. So if this character is going, hey, look at this like absolute specimen of a man, and that man's got Boz eyes, fucking hilarious. Like it's just hilarious.
We've developed a nice shorthand now in the writing process where in the creative process where I can say derp face.
Yes.
And
I instantly know.
We just know what it means.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of derp.
There's a lot of derping.
In this.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's sometimes you'll write like one of our characters called Jeff. Sometimes you'll write Jeff is angry.
Spoilers.
Angry Jeff is pure comedy. You'll
Spoilers.
Write. It is a spoiler.
Yeah.
He gets angry. There's a guy called Jeff and he gets angry. It's a huge spoiler, but like you just be like, Angry Jeff is pure comedy, and it is. It's very funny. But there's something about Boz. There's something about those Bozzy eyes. I don't know what it is. I wish I could do it with my eyes. I wish I could go like, ow, and go push them out. There was I don't know if you've ever seen the internet cartoon sensation Simon's Cat.
I'm culturally aware of Simon's
it's
Cat.
not like the funniest thing you've ever seen.
No, it's very gentle
It's
humour.
quite a gentle, kind of like a boomer humour thing. Because it's like, aren't cats funny? Don't they do all sorts of mischief in your house? And it's a bit tame and it's funny, but it's like basic,
Yeah.
But there's this one scene where they get a kitten and the kitten constantly is shitting in the litter box, and every time it shits, its eyes go out, so it's like, and then it does a poo, and it instantly elevates this otherwise fairly average cartoon to stratospheric comedy. Yeah. Those eyes, those Bozzy eyes, it's just genius. It's comedy genius.
It's great. No,
and
it's
I want my gravestone to have Boz eyes on it. That's what I'm saying.
You see, it's funny because we're ostensibly trying to create art which is going to make children laugh, and I think our only guiding star has been, can we make ourselves laugh? Screw the kids.
Screw the kids.
Can we make ourselves laugh?
Yes.
I have no idea what kids fight. The kids fight
Skibbity
toilet.
Yeah.
I can't compete with that.
I don't know
That's
if they find it
great.
funny, but maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why they understand Skibbity Toilet.
Yeah.
But am I laughing?
Yeah.
Probably a good
If
sign.
we can make ourselves laugh. That's
I'm
all
a
that matters.
fucking child. Yeah.
Yeah, because really, like we're creating this with an audience of 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're past the point of delirium, so we're basically just kind of like, if we can look at an image and have a little chortle, then
The train is off the rails.
yeah.
And even the publisher can't stop this careening locomotive of Boz-eyed comedy.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's really all there is to it. It's very funny.
It is very funny.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
It's delightful. Yeah.
Well, I've got a cheeky love to finish us off. I have been. Now I realise, as I say, this is probably going to sound quite unhealthy, but
Kajitsu.
no, I love card jitsu. I was a bit burned out of late,
Yes,
and I
you
think bringing so much comedy to this incredible, world-changing body of work.
Sure,
we're
if you like.
producing.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, whatever gets you through the night. And I was like, you know what? I'm fried. I've got to the weekend, and I literally can't string a thought together. What am I going to do?
And you can't call your mates for Kajitsu. They're unavailable.
Can't call my mates for car jitsu. For some reason, they've blocked my number. Don't know why. I've tried, kind of solo car jitsuing.
It's not the same.
It's just not the same.
No.
Yeah.
And there's more to clean up afterwards. Whoa. Anyway.
But I have started watching, quote unquote, real movies.
I think I know what you mean.
Which I guess ties into the Skibidi toilet franchise.
And also nicely ties into our definition of a real publisher. You've really done a nice job of bringing everything to a conclusion.
Yeah,
here.
I'm the Renaissance.
Yes, you are.
So,
what's a real movie, John?
Well, don't get me wrong, Nick. I was right there in the front row cheering when the Hulk picked up Loki and smashed him into the ground in 2011.
And said puny man.
Yeah, puny god or whatever.
Yeah.
Avengers, great. I think that was the last time I felt genuine excitement in the cinema. That was a phenomenal experience.
Yes.
I grew up reading the Avengers, MCU. I was fully committed. I think the MCU has kind of has a lot to answer for with modern screenwriting.
And storytelling in general, really.
Yes.
Doesn't really give much of a fuck about all of that anymore.
No.
No.
It seems quite rare nowadays for films to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Which is what my primary school teacher taught me about writing a story.
Yeah.
In year 3.
I guess you never have to have a beginning or an end when the franchise never ends.
So you can just make loads of middles.
Loads of middles.
Every movie can be a middle because, of course, the beginning can be the movie that came before, and the end can be the post-credit sequence.
And the end can be someone else's problem.
It can be someone else's problem. Just make a middle.
Like, there's now obviously tropes exist for a reason.
Mm.
The 3-act structure is old, kind of traditional, kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Tried and tested, maybe a little tired. But there's a reason we keep coming back to it, because it seems to do something to the human brain where we like the peak of action, the fall, the low point, the rise again, the climax, the finale.
We do.
And it's something we've lent on quite deliberately in book 1
of the
this
books we're
thing.
making.
Yeah, because we're like, look, book 1, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're not trying to go avant-garde.
No, we want to make a good story. It makes people laugh.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, if we can string a load of humour around a solid, workman-like plot that gets you from A to B and subsequently to C on weekends, that's great. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
So I've randomly been watching a selection of older movies.
Yep.
Kind of like from the early 2000s, pre-Iron Man, laying some blame at the MCU's door here.
Oh, I think we can lay in it. And Star Wars.
Some 90s, some 90s movies, some movies by directors who are unaffiliated with long-running cinematic franchises. And the specifics don't really matter, but it's like coming out of the desert. It's like I didn't realise how much I was missing a real meal.
Yes.
It feels like I've just been at the pick and mix stall for so long now.
Been guzzling sweets.
Yeah. And it's not that there aren't sporadic good moments in
certainly.
these movies. No.
If anything, that's part of the problem, is that it's thought about a lot of as moment to moment.
Yeah.
Rather than a story.
Yeah. Everything is a series of great moments, arguably,
Yeah.
but no one's thinking about the kind of 90-minute big picture. 90 minutes in and out, done.
I think it's quite telling as well that you can clip them and they still work.
Yeah.
On the other day, I got a TikTok which was just the Hulkbuster fight clipped. That was it, and I watched it all, and it was compelling as an action sequence because it's great as an action sequence. But the fact that you can just take a piece out of a movie and watch it suggests that it was made like that.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit problematic. I like Age of Ultron.
I like Age of Ultron, surprisingly.
Yeah, so maybe I've picked the wrong movie as an example, But maybe that was the beginning of this fall,
Yeah.
you know, because maybe people took away from Age of Ultron and the movies of its time the wrong things. They took away the fact that it's got that cool fight scene in it. Let's build another movie around 6 cool fight scenes.
Yeah.
Which is literally, as we know now, what they do when they make them. They film all the fight scenes before the script has even been finalised, which is a
Before a
wild thing to
director
learn.
is even attached to.
I honestly couldn't believe it when I heard this.
Yeah,
like
it's
the
all,
script writers and director have to work around what's previously been fucking shot.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And having, like, and in the last year or so, having dipped my toe into the worlds of screenwriting, it's like, it's hard. It's an art. Like,
really
it's
hard,
challenging.
yeah.
And, like, I can't.
From what I've
Good
heard
God,
from you.
like, working with producers, I can't imagine how hard it would be to be told, go write a great story. By the way, there's a fight scene against a guy who's got, like, a sword for a face.
Yeah.
In Act 2.
And there's a man who's like a terracotta pot or something. I don't know. Like, make that work.
Yeah, off you go. Have fun. Like, it's hard, don't get me wrong, but, like,
They're not making it any easier.
God, it is like I didn't realise I was missing something. It's very hard to pinpoint exactly what it is, but it is like eating a proper meal rather than just snacking.
Yeah.
Like I realise I've been craving proper narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been watching some old movies. There's a few modern things I'm watching. Now, I was going to potentially bring up one of my loves, and I chose not to. Scavenger's Reign.
Oh, yeah? The TV show.
Which is honestly one of the best things I've seen in years. And sitting down to watch that, it is honestly like a little part of my brain just goes,
a real program.
a real show. I can't think of a better way of describing it.
I know,
Like,
it's great. It's really good. Like,
it's fantastic.
it's remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, believe me, like I was such an, I don't want to be too critical. I was such an Avengers fan growing up as a kid.
Yeah, man.
Like Vision, loved it. Ant-Man, these obscure characters that no one knew when I was growing up.
I know, that's the wild thing, isn't
they've
it?
made it onto the big screen, and I should be the happiest boy in the world, and somehow I'm not. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's like you could have the same characters, it could be a CGI, as much CGI, could be as much visual splendor as you could imagine, but like, I think deep down as humans, we crave a beginning, a middle, and an end, and we're just not getting that at the moment.
You're right.
And it's leading to a kind of cultural starvation, which when
it's
not
I think
being
that's a good way of
treated.
putting it. We're in the cultural starvation, and we need someone to come along, and it's happening to a not enough of an extent, but like every now and then something good does come out, and everyone goes, "Wow, that's like that was like really good."
Yes,
and no one takes the right lessons from it, like, and it's like I'm desperately trying to think of an example, and I can't pull one to mind.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know, like, is June an example?
June's
like,
probably an example.
June blew everyone's minds.
Of course, it's an adaptation of already a classically recognised good story. But yes, June blew everyone's minds. And part of why it was so good was because Denis Villeneuve is a really good director.
Yeah.
But they told a fucking story, and it's like, yeah.
Because that's the job of a screenwriter or a filmmaker, is you go, look, there's what is the human connection? What's the character we care about? What do they want?
Yes.
It seems to be like there's so much content now where I don't know what the character wants.
I don't know why they're
I should
doing
care.
Yeah, I don't know what they want. I don't know why they're doing anything that they're doing, and I don't know why I should care.
Yeah.
I just finished watching. I don't know why I did it. I do this, but sometimes I watch things that I know aren't going to be good, and then aren't good, and but I feel like I'm learning. And I watched all of Star Wars: The Acolyte, and I never know why anyone is doing anything in that. Like they just do random shit all the way through it, and it's just like, honestly, I couldn't tell you what anyone wanted, and certainly not by the end. Like, the end is just inscrutable, mystifying, and an absolute mess. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, and that's an 8-episode prestige TV show made by one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world, with one of the biggest franchises of all of pop culture.
Yeah.
Star Wars is arguably, if not the biggest,
It might be
pop
the
culture franchise.
it's
it
up
is
there.
definitely one of the biggest. If you want to say Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Star Wars, you could say are the big three, right?
MCU.
Maybe MCU as
Maybe
well.
MCU,
So those
yeah.
4, right? Definitely MCU, I'd say. Actually.
Yeah, maybe Lord of the Rings gets bumped down to like 4th or something.
Maybe it does, just purely because they were actually quite good films, and there's very few of them.
Yeah.
But like, okay, Harry Potter, Star Wars, MCU. 2 of them owned by Disney, interestingly.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
Yeah, and it's like it was
Can't-
bad. It was a bad
yeah.
time. I had a bad time with it.
Maybe like smarter people from us are going to write some kind of thesis in 10, 15 years' time about the difference between content and stories.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
maybe
we're drowning in content.
we're drowning in
There's
content.
so much. You will never not have something to watch.
So many of these films and things are being made because the studios need to make the next round of money,
Yeah.
but not because anyone wanted to tell that story.
Mm.
And like, you know, all the MCU movies, like the reason we're getting sequels to trilogies, the reason we're getting a Shang-Chi 2 and the reason we had a Doctor Strange 2 was not because someone had a great story. It was because someone said we need to fill the next slot in the roster.
Yeah, yeah.
And the reason The Acolyte exists is because Star Wars needed to make another Star Wars show
Yeah.
because they weren't making any new Star Wars money. And it wasn't because there was a story to be told. The story was told after the fact to fill the brief of the gap
Yeah.
for a new show. And that was it.
And maybe
There's
like
no love for it.
and maybe like a rot sets in
Maybe it
creatively from the beginning. Like, and it's wild because again, we go and see these movies because we've followed these characters for years in comic books
Yeah.
or films or whatever. We have an affection for them.
Maybe that's why I keep going back to Star Wars. Maybe
Yeah.
I keep hoping because I loved Star Wars as a kid. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
You know. But then, you know, it's funny you mentioned like watching real films because Ali and I have recently gone back to watching Star Trek Voyager, and it's like, oh, here we go. Like a 45-minute beginning, middle, and end bottle story where characters develop and the story starts, middles, and ends.
Yeah.
You know, in quite a constrained environment. In a Monster of the Week capacity, and
Yeah.
it nails it every fucking episode. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, because again,
It's
like
incredible.
Star Trek, formulaic.
Yeah.
Because again, they had 42 minutes to tell a story.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, we'll have a setup, we'll have a mystery, we'll have a conflict, we'll have a resolution, we'll have a climax. And
Yes.
it's like bang, in and out.
And yet still, I find
Yeah.
myself being entertained.
Well, yeah, because again, it's that thing where it's like, what was the metric of success? The metric was we have to make 26 episodes
Yes.
on a budget. So we have to be efficient.
Yeah.
We have to kind of...
Success through adversity,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, yeah. And then they had 7 fucking seasons of it. You
Yeah.
know, like, yeah, I think they did all right, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind
mad.
of phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm with you.
And maybe it'll flip flop. You know, I don't like looking backwards,
No.
but I always want to look forward.
Yeah.
But like, and things like Scavenger's Reign prove like there is incredible new content being made.
Yes, true.
But again, it's a battle because there's so much just content.
There's a lot of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Infinite content.
Mm.
Anyhow.
Well, this has been quite a cerebral episode.
It has been, hasn't it? And all
Yes.
because we didn't have that awful man,
That
Chris
awful,
Ray, in the
awful
room.
man.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show that the quality goes up. And this becomes a real podcast.
A real podcast.
A real
for,
podcast
for real people.
For real people,
Yeah.
real listeners, and a couple of rubber bone boys.
Hey, I know that would be a great way to end, but what do you think?
I know we
Ryan?
can't. Yeah. I think hate one because I hate Kajitsu. I hate
the
it.
Kajitsu, yeah.
No, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Hey, we need to settle this in our Honda Accord.
Let's go.